Everybody for joining us. I'm honored, and this has been an incredible couple of weeks for the brand. It surpassed all of my expectations for what's happened with our community. And I'm just, again, so humbled and honored to still be here and to be kind of talking about the next phase of our journey. So the way I'm going to structure this webinar is I'm just going to give a little bit of a background on the brand and how I came up with the idea, the technology, and what we're seeing from our sales and consumers, and then what we're going to be doing with the money and why we're doing this round. And then I had emails of about 10 questions or so that have already been sent in. So I'm going to go through those questions and obviously leave time for anybody else's questions here at the end, and just want to get you guys as comfortable as possible to understand what we're doing. So I'm going to share my screen. I am going to be showing our pitch deck or our investor deck. I'm not going to go slide by slide because a lot of this information is already on the Wefunder page, and you probably have seen that. But if there's any other questions that you have as I'm going through this, please feel free to type them in the comments field, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. So a little bit, the front slide says it all, the next evolution of coffee and tea. The reason I say that is because it really is that we invented a new technology to dehydrate beverages. And we've started with coffee and tea, but this technology can be used for any plant, leaf, herb, spice, fruit that you can think of. So a lot of the product development that we have coming up next is going to be expanding beyond even just coffee and tea. But really, when I pitch people, I tell them that this is a platform beverage technology. It has 30 patents on it. I own the North American exclusive rights to this technology, so nobody else can do what we do in North America. We also own worldwide exclusive rights if we're talking to any customers first. So there's a couple big food conglomerates that have already come to me and asked if we can do some R&D work for them. And now we basically own them worldwide. So everybody knows it. I would say it's the blessing and the curse that instant has a negative connotation. Instant doesn't taste good. People typically tend to drink it only when they have to. And I wanted to change that. And so I quickly realized the reason. So I came up with the idea when I was on a backpacking trip, and all of my friends were complaining about how bad Starbucks Via and Folgers tasted. And I'm more of a tea drinker myself. And so I was carrying around these wet, soggy tea bags, and you can't just chuck them out in the woods. You have to actually pack them out. And it was just this moment of, why hasn't anybody made an instant product, tea or coffee, that actually tastes good? And so I spent 9 months trying to make an instant that would taste good, and I utterly failed. So I literally spent $75,000 of my wife and my own money trying to get existing methods for dehydration to work. And so I'll talk about that a little bit in the deck about why they didn't work. But the reason why we're growing so quickly and why the brand is on fire, and it's because we have this unique process, and it's a modification of botanical extraction technology, which I'll get back to in a minute. But it's really the world's first. Nobody's ever done it. Nobody is able to do this same technology. And so it's not only do we have great products and our consumers love us, but we're a rare food company in the sense that we have this patented technology behind the brand. So it makes it really impossible for anybody else to do what we do. So I'm going to come back to the technology in a second, but just some of our metrics of why is the brand growing so quickly. Ultimately, it's because of you, our customers. So thank you. But we have uncovered this really low cost acquisition strategy to bring customers into the brand. So there's basically two main methods of what we're doing. The first is this sample pack program. So you probably maybe you came to us because of it, or if not, I'm sure that you've seen the ads on Facebook and Google and Instagram, but a lot of the ads are just me saying, I want to give you a free sample pack of our product, just pay a small shipping and handling fee. And the beauty of that program is that by charging a little bit for shipping and handling, it reduces our marketing costs to acquire those customers. We've also found that it gets rid of a lot of the freebie hunters, people that would never buy your products anyway. They're just looking for free stuff. And so these ads now have so many people that have commented on them that our acquisition costs. So there's a term in direct-to-consumer marketing called CAC, customer acquisition cost. And so our CAC is down around $8. It'll range anywhere from $7 up to $9, but it means that it costs us $8 in ad spend to get somebody to buy a sample pack. So of those sample packs, people come back 42% of them are coming back to the brand within 15 days. So it's an incredible amount of people. And then if you look at it over the next 6 months, up to 65% of these people come back, which is awesome. Our margins are 50%, almost 50%. And our average order value is between $50 and $57. So you can look at it and say, for $8, we're profiting $25 within that customer's first order. And our average customer orders 5.2 times per year. So again, for that $8 ad spend, we're able to generate almost $300 in revenue or $125 in profit. And so that's why one of the reasons why I'm so excited on raising money for this round is because we've uncovered this really profitable acquisition channel, but we don't have the resources to continue to fund it. So we're spending a pretty low amount of money now on that digital marketing spend, and we want to ramp it up because we know customers love the product. So the biggest challenge for us is just getting people to try it for the first time. So we're on a $2.2 million run rate, which is awesome. We're growing up 200% every month. If you look at it over the last year, just August, I haven't even updated the Wefunder page, but August was our biggest month ever, which is phenomenal. We have a really high customer retention rate. So we have 80,000 customers. And again, that we add, so last month was a record that we had 5,000 new customers within a single month. So every month we're adding more and more of those customers. We got tons of 5-star reviews, like thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews. Our subscriptions is another really exciting thing for the business, that we're adding between 1 and 300 new subscriptions every single month. And I can't tell you how excited it makes me, because I'll get up in the morning and before I even get out of bed, I can check to see what our revenue is for the day, and all the subscription orders, they trigger in the morning. And so it's like every single day, it's just like the orders that are triggering in the morning continue to grow and grow and grow. And they're extremely loyal customers. So within 6 months, we're keeping 55% of our subscribers, which is industry leading. If you look at any other company, they call it the churn rate of how many subscribers are you losing. And most companies lose between 80 and 90% of their subscribers within the first 6 months. So the fact that we're keeping over half of them is amazing. You can see everybody likes graphs where the lines go up. Again, I need to update this to show August numbers, but it was it was a record month. The first 6 days in September have been 20% above August, so we're on track for another record month. But it becomes this powerful moving wheel, because we just keep getting more and more customers. We're retaining customers at a really high rate, so that the brand revenue is just going to continue to grow. So back to the technology. So what did I do that was so different? So I think first I'll say, I know this is a couple slides later, but basically before I started, there was 2 methods for dehydrating beverages. The first is called spray drying, which is really high heat dehydration. And I can actually jump to that slide. So it's a 1,000-degree air fan. So basically they brew the tea or coffee, and then they spray it at high pressure into this 1,000-degree air fan. That evaporates the water, and then you end up with these little granules of instant tea and coffee. Well, if anybody knows anything about baking or cooking, you know that if you put something through 1,000 degrees, not a whole lot of it's going to survive. So I kind of liken this to like burning your food. And that's why a lot of instant teas and coffees taste burned and bitter. So the other method is called freeze drying, really cold temperature dehydration. It's a little bit better than spray drying, to be honest, but it still uses extremely cold temperatures. And I kind of equate it to freezer burning your food. So that's why Lipton, Nestea, all these other companies, they've had to put in artificial ingredients, flavorings, sugar, dairy into their instant products to try to reconstitute what tea and coffee should be. And I didn't want to do that with my products. So the idea for what I do sounds crazy, but it came because of my wife's eye cream that she puts on, still does, every evening puts on this rose eye cream. And the only ingredient is rose extract. And I read the back of the box and I was like, I wonder, how are they getting rose petals into an eye cream? And it was another one of those light bulb moments of, could we do the same thing for tea and coffee? So I reached out to some botanical extraction companies. One of them was really excited to work with me on the project. And so I spent about 9 months working with them to modify this botanical extraction process to be used for a food purpose for the first time. So it had always existed for roses and chrysanthemums and lavender, but it had never been used for a food purpose for the first time. So what we're doing is, the first stage is the ingredients. Like, it really does matter the quality of tea and coffee and raw materials. So I only buy organic tea. I only buy high elevation Rainforest Alliance certified coffee. All of our raw materials are tested for heavy metals, pesticides, mold, and fungus. The ingredients, so a lot of brands will use things like mango extract or mango flavoring. We don't use that. We use real mango fruit or real cardamom and nutmeg. So it all goes into this, it's pressurized. So we take room temperature water, we put the organic tea, coffee, fruits, and spices. It's about 500 gallons in a batch. We pressurize it to 500 PSI, and it's that pressure that breaks open the cell walls of the tea, coffee, fruit, and spices and forces it to steep into room temperature water. The room temperature water is important because if you use hot water, it's like over steeping a tea bag. If you leave it in too long, it becomes bitter and you release tannins. So by doing this cold brew methodology, it keeps the flavor really intact. And by using pressure, it forces it to steep. So at the end of that steeping cycle, we open up this valve at the bottom of the machine, the one that I'm standing in front of here on the right-hand side. All of the liquid tea and coffee runs out. And then we take the leftover coffee, tea, all the used fruits and spices, and we compost it back at the organic tea farm. So I think we're the only tea and coffee company in the world that can claim that all of our used tea and coffee leaves go back into the soil versus going into a landfill. So then it goes through this membrane filtration step. So that's the one picture here on the left. It's basically a series of small membranes that the tea and coffee will flow through. And what those membranes are doing, by using a specific size of membrane, we can filter out any residual heavy metals, pesticides, mold, and fungus. And I told you in the beginning that we only use organic tea and we test the ingredients to begin with. However, there can be cross-contamination. And so I want to make sure that the finished product is 100% pure. A lot of our customers have mold issues, illnesses. They want to make sure they're not having pesticides. So this membrane filtration stage removes all of that. So it's really pure. And then the final step is the middle picture here. So that's called the vacuum dehydrator. I kind of joke, it's like a mini submarine. So it gets filled halfway up with tea and coffee. And then we put 0% humidity air above the tea and coffee. And what that does is create a pressure differential, creates a vacuum. So the water rapidly evaporates into the air above it. Once it hits 40% humidity, we vent it out because the process slows down, and we put 0% back in and we let it run. And it takes about 6 cycles of that for the tea or coffee to lose all of its water. But the beauty is that it's only losing the water. It doesn't lose any of the flavor, the aroma, the beneficial properties. They stay within the tea and coffee crystals at the bottom of the machine. And so those coffee and tea crystals, they never see air again until the customer opens it up. So it goes through a series of pipes, it goes to the packaging machine, they're nitrogen filled so that we make sure that they have 0% humidity until you open it and you mix it, and it makes an incredible cup of tea and coffee. So this total process has 30 patents on it. Like I said before, I want to always be honest, we don't own those patents, but I own the exclusive rights to those patents in North America. So nobody else can do what we do. Eco is a big part of who I am. I actually started my career here in Boulder working for a company called Eco Products, and we grew the company from 1 million to 75 million in 5 years. And so it's always been part of who I am. And so I've made sure that as much as we can through the entire process, we keep the environment in mind. So our manufacturing facility is solar powered. Boulder, everything here in the Boulder office and warehouse is zero waste. All the coffee and tea goes back into the soil. And then our recycling program, we're shipping almost 500,000 recycled sticks back to TerraCycle every single month. So it's become this amazing. I mean, it used to be our #1 complaint where people would say, well, I don't want to use single use. And then all of a sudden we provided them with a recycling option, and it gets turned back into playground equipment and plastic decking. So it's a really cool program. So business itself. So we kind of got this current, next, and in the future. So currently we're 90% direct to consumer, about 10% wholesale. Those wholesale accounts we have a few grocery stores. We have some outdoor retailers that have come to us organically. When we look into what's going to happen in the future, we're going to start more aggressively going out to more of those stores. But the direct-to-consumer business right now is growing so fast and it's so profitable that we really want to spend the majority of what we're raising here will go into growing that direct-to-consumer business. But then in the future, we're going to grow the brand. As we get more customers concentrated within certain geographies, it makes sense for us to expand and have retail stores start to carry us there. And then on top of that, the last channel is private label. So I'm pretty excited. We literally just got our first big private label order today. It's something I've been working on for the past year and a half. So that's basically, we're making products for other brands. And this does a couple things for us. It's a great revenue generator for us. It helps me lower the raw material costs for everything. So I can basically buy tea and coffee for their brand as well as ours, because we're using it in the same system. So it's going to increase our margins. So we have a really clear line of sight. Right now, we're running at between 47 and 55% margin. We have a clear line of sight to 70% margin. And part of how we get there is through adding some of these private label customers. And then it also helps to show customers that maybe have never heard of us, but they heard of this other bigger brand, that you can have something that's instant, but also tastes amazing. So we're really excited to grow the private label side, the wholesale side, and then keep direct to consumer growing like crazy. You can see we're a $90 billion category is coffee and $14 billion is tea. So, it's not that unrealistic to think that our brand can't become $20-25 million brand by just carving out a few small percentage points of these huge, massive markets. So we got a great team behind us. Robin, who's our VP of marketing, is actually on maternity leave right now, or I would have her on this call, but I'm happy that she's got a healthy baby. We've got a great board of directors that have a lot of CPG and direct-to-consumer experience that are help guiding me to make sure that we always make the right decisions. So we're on track to double revenue every year for the next 5 years. So it's going to be a pretty wild ride. So getting in now, as far as an investment, will be the lowest price that you would ever pay to become part of the brand. So hopefully that return, I want to make everybody some money, and can't promise anything, but I can promise that I'm going to work my tail off to do that. When it comes to valuation, so how do we value the company? Well, honestly, it's been a difficult time because the stock market has gone down so much. So even at the beginning of the year, February, March, brands like us were getting 5 to 8 times their revenue as a valuation. It's changed since stock market has gone down. There's a lot of recession fears, although our business has never been better. So it seems to be like our product is relatively inflation and recession proof, because it's a lot less expensive than coffee shops and other choices for making tea and coffee, and it tastes great. So we're at basically the valuation for the company is 7 million, which is 3.8 times our current run rate. And these are some other examples of other brands that had way more than 3.8 times multiple. So we think this is a very fair multiple valuation. So I'm like thrilled. We've already raised 1.3 million out of the total 3 million we're trying to raise. The board just approved going up to 4 million if there's an appetite for it. And the vehicle for this is a convertible note. So basically you will get interest and a discount when it converts to shares. So I can explain more about that for people that want to learn, or it's on the Wefunder page exactly how that works, but they will convert to shares in the company. So I got a couple minutes, so I want to make sure I can actually stay on here for as long as I need to, but I wanted to answer some of these questions. So somebody asked, how scalable is the business, and will we be able to keep up with growth? And so far we're using about 10% of the total manufacturing capacity. So we have 90% more to grow. So that basically means that we can become a $20 million company with our existing machines and partnerships. Once it gets to the stage where we need to add more lines, then we would add more manufacturing lines to do that. Somebody asked about what assumptions did we use to calculate the revenue projections? So you can see that they definitely grow quite a bit, but there is very clear science or accounting behind how these grow. So basically, when we look at our direct-to-consumer business, we know very clearly if we spend this amount of money, if we spend $8, we're going to acquire one customer. That customer is going to come back and order 5 times a year, and the average order value is $50 to $57. So it's really easy for us to calculate that direct-to-consumer revenue. Wholesale revenue is also pretty easy to calculate because we already have about 1,000 stores that we're in. And so there's something called velocity. So how many units do you sell per store, per week, per flavor? And so we already know what we're currently doing with 1,000 stores. So it's easy for us to project to say, okay, when we go from 1,000 to 5,000, we know what that revenue would look like because of the velocity that we're already doing. And I'm even more excited about, I think that wholesale could be under projected in here because we launched our coffee products in May of 2020, which was right in the middle of the pandemic. And so most retailers aren't carrying our coffee yet. They're only carrying tea. And coffee is a faster moving item in grocery stores. So I think that we could do even better there. Private label business, these are all projections that we've been given to. So we have a pipeline of 12 customers that have come to us to ask us to make products for them. And so they've given us their financial projections for what they think that they can do. And that's how this model is built up. How do I get my money back? So that was a good one. All right. So there's a couple different ways that you'll get a return for your investment. So the first way is if Cusa Tea and Coffee is acquired. If that happens, then there will be a share price and you'll get paid out based on the percent of shares that you own in the company. The second way is that we may go public on the stock exchange. And so there's these things called a SPAC, where smaller companies can basically merge with a couple of others and go public. And one of the brands that I showed before, Laird Superfoods, they just went public, I think it was last year. So it's not unheard of. And if we want to raise money, it could be a great way to grow the brand and get a lot of exposure. And the third way you can get a return on your investment is as we become more and more profitable, the board may vote to distribute profits to shareholders. And so then you'll get a percentage of however much you own of the company, you'll get that percentage of profit every year. The board may vote to reinvest profits so that the brand can continue to grow and increase value, but we also may choose to pay out essentially the equivalent of dividends to shareholders. So those are the three main ways. Can someone easily steal your technology? No, it's very complicated. It's got a lot of patents protecting it, and then it's not an easy process. I can tell you that after 9 months of modifying things, this is not something that somebody can very easily reverse engineer. I'll tell you that one of the companies that reached out to me was Celestial Seasonings, and their R&D team has tried for 7 years to try to make a soluble tea, was what they called it, and they couldn't do it. So if they have a lot bigger budgets than we do, and they haven't been able to figure out, I know that it's pretty protected. What other products are we launching? So we're actually launching one new one this week. I'm super excited. Our #1 requested item ever has been decaf coffee, and we're launching it this week. It took a long time for me to develop it, and I know we're getting a little short on time, so I want to make sure we leave time for questions, but the decaf coffee tastes incredible, and we're launching that this week. We're launching another fall seasonal called Peppermint Mocha, Mocha's been our #1 selling coffee revenue wise since we launched the brand. So I'm super excited for Peppermint Mocha as a holiday coffee. And then once we finish this fundraising round, I've already done all the R&D work to launch a mushroom infused tea and coffee line. And for some of you, it may sound weird, but mushrooms are growing like crazy in America. They've been used in Asia for centuries for health and wellness. And because we have this unique process, we can actually extract more essence from the mushroom to give even more benefit to customers versus there's other brands out there that are doing mushroom products, but they're just grinding mushrooms up. They're not having this extraction. So the extraction is going to make it way more potent. So I can't wait to launch that line. Somebody else asked, when are discount codes coming out? So first of all, if you already invested, thank you. We're basically going to do, from a process perspective, it's going to be easier for us to basically once a month, we'll send out discount codes to everybody who invested that previous month. So we're about 2 weeks into the campaign. And so in about another 2 weeks, we'll send out discount codes for the first round. So I'm going to open up some other questions, but I did want to talk, there's some other cool business updates that haven't even been included on the Wefunder page yet. So we just broke 600,000 in money on Wefunder. So it's 1.3 million that has been the total. And the difference is basically we had some investors early on in the brand that reinvested. So it wasn't through the Wefunder page, but it's really cool to be at 600,000 just from our customers in a week. So thank you. It's awesome. We just got another $350,000 committed from customers. So there's some bigger check writers that are pretty excited. So it's awesome. No, it doesn't matter. Like if you're at 250, I want to say thank you. But it's also great to have some of these bigger ones because it means we can finish up sooner and I can get back to growing the business like crazy. August was our record sales month ever. So 3 months in a row, we've had record sales and we're at over 200% over last year on our website sales. And it's just growing like crazy. I told you we just got our first private label customer. So it's starting out with a $50,000 order, which is great. And then their projections are to be 600,000 for next year. We just got accepted as a finalist in this pitch slam called Brandjectory. So I'm going to put an update on the Wefunder page. So if you haven't followed it, follow on Wefunder, so then you can get the updates. But it's basically this competition for emerging brands to pitch to. They have about 1,000 investors, and they chose us as one of the top 5 finalists. So it's going to happen on September 14th. So just like a week from now. So I'm really excited about that. We'll put the link out so everybody can follow it. So I think that's it. Let me open it up. I'm going to turn off my screen share. Any comments or questions that I can answer right now? Or did I just talk so much? Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
This is Tim Petrosky.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, I just want to let you know I'm still here.
Good.
Still hanging in there, still investing in your company.
Thank you.
I was hoping to know more about what the shares might be, but I guess I can wait on that. But anyway, I've been following you, as you know, for quite some time. So I'm very, very, very happy with your success, and keep it going.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Yeah, so the shares, to answer that question, so that depending on how much we end up ultimately raising, it will convert as a percentage of the business. So if we raise $3 million, it's different than if we raise 4 million, but it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of around $6 per share. So if you invest 600 bucks, then you get 100 shares in the company.
Okay. Just curious, that's all.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anybody else before we log off? Well, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody taking the time, and I'm going to be posting this, and it's recorded, so I'll be posting it if you wanted to go back and listen to anything again. My email is jim@kusat.com. So if you have any questions that you didn't want to ask publicly, you can always email me there. And thanks again for all the support. Couldn't have done it without you. All right, signing off, everybody.